Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 6 of Visions of Tomorrow, the review series for, as the name pretty obviously suggests, Gran Turismo's Vision GT concept cars. The opportunity where manufacturers can be pretty much as imaginative as they want, with no real restrictions, only those that they place upon themselves, and the result is some pretty amazing concept cars. Now this Vision GT is one of the interesting and relatively few Vision GTs which is actually an evolution of a vehicle which is already on the game. Usually the VGTs are completely unique, like nothing else that's already available in that car dealership. This model though is based on an existing playable car, namely the Toyota FT-1 concept. And this version is simply called the FT-1 VGT. In effect, it is a race car version of the FT-1. Fairly obviously, you can look at the car and see that, and it looks fantastic as a race car. It manages to capture both the visual style and also the aura of the days gone by racing Supras that raced in a variety of categories, everything from the Le Mans to the Super GT. And it lives up to the legacy of the Supra, I would say, very well. Many people consider the FT-1 to essentially be a Supra concept. Now, as far as I'm aware, Toyota mentioned a while ago that this would not be what an eventual Supra turns out like. Now, they may change their mind. That may just be the old Porsche tactic of underplaying their products so that people like them even more when they're released, and I really hope so. But for now, it would appear that this isn't the new Supra. Now that's a shame, because it's a pretty awesome car, and it would make a fantastic Supra replacement that would really take on cars like the Nissan GT-R and Mazda's potential new RX-7, shown beautifully, I would say, by the RX Vision concept. Now this particular car is very few and far between in terms of spec. We're not told very much about it. It costs 1 million credits, as most of the VGTs do. Not all, but most. And apart from that, there's very little which we know. It's 645 pp. It produces 645 horsepower, and thanks to the fact that it weighs exactly 1,000 kilos, or 1 tonne, it also produces 645 horsepower per tonne. So the number 645 is pretty important in this car's construction. In terms of tuning though, it's bad news, because there's virtually nothing you can do to this car, and that's a real shame because it has so much racing potential. Now as it happens, it's a very good car anyway. It has a form of hybrid system. We're not told what the engine is, of course, but it is combined to some form of electric boost system, which you can see as a tiny little boost meter while you're driving the car, as with any EV or hybrid vehicle on the game. Now what those electric motors power, I'm not sure of. There may be background information from Toyota which highlights that, but it's not available on the game at least. What I suspect it is electric motors for the front wheels. I may be wrong about that, but that's what I feel from driving the car and from what most manufacturers do. That's what they tend to go for. The traditional engine powering the rear wheels and the motors powering the front. And that would also explain one other thing about this car, which is the handling. Now it's not bad. It's certainly more than a capable rival for any GT3 machine, as long as you don't tune it. But the steering is surprisingly heavy. And there's nothing you can do about that, because as we said, you can't change the settings on the car. And the main thing that would account for that is those electric motors up front. If they're putting out a large amount of power and torque, that would explain why the front end is so heavy around corners, especially high-speed corners. So whether or not said electric boost system is factored into that 645 horsepower or not, we don't know. We could assume not, because most of the hybrids on the game, such as the Toyota TS30 hybrid, don't factor that into the power. So although technically this car has 645, it could actually be running upward of 700, or maybe even more. In terms of straight line performance, It's pretty good. The top speed isn't phenomenal, and the acceleration isn't going to blow your mind, but it's suitable enough for a GT3 or GT2 style race car, especially GT3. And as I said, it can actually play ball with the other GT3s, such as the Nismo RJN, the Mercedes SLS GT3, etc., etc., the BMW Z4 GT3, but only if you don't tune them. Because as soon as you tune its rivals, it doesn't stand a chance. As long as you restrict them down to, say, 600 pp or 600 horsepower or something like that, then the car has a good chance. But apart from that, its range of effectiveness is unfortunately pretty limited. Overall, is it worth 1 million credits? Well, it's twice the price of the standard FT-1. The standard FT-1 is one of my favourite concept cars in the game, purely for how fun it is to drive. And I would say this car is actually worth 1 million credits, but only in a very specific way. For its performance, I'd say it's not worth 1 million credits, because there are far better race cars out there for the same price or less. But for the looks, the sound, and the fun factor, it's a fantastic car. But that's it for this episode. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.